Hey, everybody. Jeff Cohen back with John Lawson with johnlawson.com. Now, crazy story about John is that, we talk a lot of these interviews that I've been doing have been in this like whole concept of going back 5 years. You were probably, if not one of the first people I met in the space at a SCOE conference in Seattle.
Yep.
And I remember this because I had to borrow $10 from Brandon to buy your book because I didn't even have $10 on me to buy your book because I don't carry cash.
Even back then,
I didn't carry cash.
Even back then, you were all cards.
Yeah. So John, you've been in this space forever, right? When we talk about dinosaurs, you were here before they were selling on eBay, being involved. I mean, you've got some you had viral videos before there were viral videos, right? Yeah. You got into trends before we even were talking trends on e-commerce. And now today you get to, before all of this, you traveled the world and spoke about e-commerce all over, but I know you're doing a lot and keeping up. I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on like where e-commerce has gone over the last 5 years and maybe something that made sense 5 years ago that still makes sense today that people should still be thinking about.
Man, okay. Seriously, people still need, and it still makes sense, but it's so hard to get people that are marketplace-based sellers to understand the power of driving your own traffic. They just never, if you just take 10% of your profits and put that into building a website, building your own traffic space, you would have really seen such an increase because what happened over those 2-3 months that we were in, quote, lockdown, and Amazon was in lockdown, right? People took some serious share.
Yeah, we calculate. So we own a separate business called Xcart, which does e-commerce.
Yeah.
And we did an analysis of GMV from Q2, and our GMV growth from Q1 to Q2 was 175%.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
It's insane numbers.
Yes.
Basically what happened in 2-3 months was going to take 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
And it happened in months. And we're not going back from here. I mean, this is definitely, we're into a tipping point. So if nothing else, start today. We're still only at, believe it or not, I find these numbers hard to believe, but e-commerce, even with its major jump this year, is still going to teeter around 15-16% of all commerce, right? Which is a big jump from like 13%,
right?
But, or 12%, wherever it was before. But it's still early enough, guys. It's still early enough. Get out there and put something in, because most of them have stores. You have a store. If you're a brand, you have to have a store, right? Just to get okayed on Amazon to be a brand.
Right.
So why not put 10% of your effort, your team over there and help them and encourage that growth?
And the one thing and the other thing I'll add to your point here, the other thing that we've seen is that when people visit your brand on Amazon, the first thing they do is they go and check out your brand on the web. And when they go to check out your brand on the web, if you look at your Google Analytics, they're going and checking out your Amazon store. So the two are tied together, whether you want them to be or not.
Right.
And you're right. If you own your own traffic, you gain a lot more control over your brand, your message, and your future sales. So,
and let's not be, and I want to be stupid simple with you guys, because this is what we talked about. If they're taking your brand, they see that, they see your company name, they go to Google, they Google it. Where's your Twitter? Put a Twitter link on there, because once you create a Twitter account, put 10 posts on it and let it sit. It doesn't matter. It'll show up in Google search. Put your Facebook page together. Put your Instagram page together.
You can do a LinkedIn business profile, but
yeah, that one's not
as much. But you have to have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
and Pinterest.
Pinterest and Etsy and those are just kind of dependent maybe on what your brand is, what category you're in.
Right. But here's the thing. All of them show up high in search rate. So when I go over and look for your brand name, I see this. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, they're a real company.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
So what is something that people still focus on today? They've been focusing on, but they need to stop focusing on it because it's kind of a waste of time and effort.
I think, you know what? I'm going to get beat up for it. Blogging. And I don't mean that for when you're trying to be an expert in a category.
Right.
Right. I think that is important, but just for the sake of selling a widget.
Yep.
I think it's a waste of time. You'd be better off creating video on how to use your widget. And then you take those videos, of course, you put them on your page. It's amazing how many people don't have video on their Amazon pages. It's amazing.
And I think Amazon just recently has now made it available. You don't even need
It's
brand
open.
registry anymore. You can upload I think they call them the video shorts or, the related videos. You can upload those now. And ultimately, if you're not putting that content there, guess whose content shows up? Your competitors.
Your competitors.
What are you hearing in the space, in the general e-commerce space? What are you kind of hearing that, you were big, I remember your presentation you did for us was on like robots and kind of how bots were kind of taking over the bot messaging. How do you look at stuff like that and determine whether it's a fad or something you really need to spend your time on? And is there anything kind of up and coming that people should be keeping an eye out for?
Here's the thing. It's like, what was that, 3-4 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
AI was the new thing and everybody was talking about the bots, and it's kind of weird. We've gotten so used to bots so quickly that it's not all that cutting edge anymore. And I think a lot of the promise that we thought was going to come from it didn't really pan out. So here's the deal. I mean, when it came to messenger bots, I thought those were really fantastic. But the thing was, Facebook didn't create the store experience like they said they were going to. And
Right.
they still
they
keep saying that.
Right. They're still struggling. They're still struggling to figure that out.
Right. So, I mean, that's a little cart before the horse kind of thing. But if you can go ahead and, or if you've already put the time and effort into it, don't abandon it completely because it's coming. It's absolutely coming. Right now, every time I buy something with PayPal or my American Express card, two of those bots that I use all the time, when I get the messenger back that says, okay, you spent blah, 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 it's like, okay, fine. However, when I subscribe to something and I totally forget that it's going to hit my credit card, that bot comes into play.
Right.
Right. So getting people engaged is happening, but it's not the big promise that it probably was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, as a speaker in the space, it's partly your job to test new things and to be on the cutting edge. I like to say that we're not relevant if we're talking about the things that have already been talked about.
Right.
But I also feel that that's a disservice because people are constantly coming into this space. And if they're always kind of reaching out for the newest, greatest thing, they miss out on like the base foundation. So like, what are the things that you talked about in the past that you still think are like the foundations that if you don't have, we talk about it like with Resonate, right? Like you need to know 101 before you come to the conference. What are the things that like you need to be like buttoned up in your business to know this before you even start playing with these other things?
Man, look, here's the basics. The basics is you need a good product. There's too many people that are chasing after garbage products made in some other country, imported by somebody else, and sold by you. There are very few that I know that have really successfully done that. And the reason why is because if you don't believe in the authenticity of your product, it comes out in everything you do. It seeps through the titles that you put out there. It seeps through the pictures that you take, the way you talk about the product. I mean, yes, you'll see some, there's a sucker born every minute. There's the 80-20 rule that overrides everything.
Right.
So that means that out of 100 people that start selling, only 20% of them are going to be somewhat successful, and only 5 of them will actually break that 6-figure sales number. Seriously, right? And if you know that's the case, then you have to go back to making sure we got good product, understanding your competition, right? And then creating good content around that product. That's all you got to do. And when you get people, responding back to you about what they like, what they don't like, take action. That is the best thing. You remember back when we were younger, because, you're kind of old too. So,
right.
But you remember how they used to
had less gray hair.
I know, man. It looks great. I haven't seen you in a minute. So yes. So here's the thing, man. You remember back in the day, they used to have these focus groups.
Yep.
And it would be inside of a room, and they would pay people to come to this place, sit inside this glass room, then have executives on the other side of the glass, and they would ask the questions to the people just to see what their response was to whatever product they were putting in front of them.
Yep.
They used to spend thousands of dollars to
tens of thousands of dollars.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah.
Right? Here you've got this in spades right now in your content, and all you want to do is fight with people.
Yeah.
If they don't like your crap.
And here's where I think it's a great point you bring up. And here's where I think it comes in. I was listening to a podcast on website optimizations, and what he said, he had these like 8 rules of website optimizations. And what he said was, the control always wins unless the variable proves it beats the control. And that you have to use data to make that decision. You can't be emotional. So, and 9 out of 10 times the control wins. Right. And but that we as humans want our new selection, our new choice to win.
Yeah.
And therefore we will it to win, even if the numbers don't tell us that it should win. And so I think product, and I agree with you, I think product comes into the same regard of like, hey, I used the tool told me this product's going to do well. The profitability looks good.
Right.
I sourced it at a good price. I put it on Amazon, and now I should be getting sales. And then you're emotional about whether you keep that product or you dump that product. You're emotional about whether you need to change the pictures. I'll give one other quick analogy. There's a restaurant chain in the Chicago area called Let Us Entertain You. They're gigantic, right? If you've ever eaten here, you've eaten at a restaurant of theirs. And they, I heard the founder of that company speak, and they said, how do you know if a restaurant's going to be successful? And he said, restaurant success is determined in the first 21 days of opening and how well we can listen to our customers and adjust our menu.
Yeah.
Because they make all these preconceived assumptions before they bring this concept and product to market, but they need the actual market to tell them how something needs to be successful.
That's it. Go with that flow, man. That's why it's there.
Yeah.
Customer feedback. I mean, you think about it. How important is customer feedback, not just to your product, but how important it is to Amazon? Even though they don't listen to us as sellers, I get it.
Right.
Right. But you figure it out, man. How much of that space on that page do they make sure is set aside for customer feedback? They recognize the importance of it, and you should too.
Yeah. No, I think that, I guess the attitude I've always had is that you have to understand your foundation and your tried and true principles, and then you can grow upon those and you can test and you can pull in other things and you can, be more, more adventurous in the things you're trying.
Yeah. And I
So
mean, the thing is, people are going to, that's one thing about marketplaces too. I mean, it's so transparent what you do. If you are
yep,
successful in a marketplace, all those things that scrape to find that product is going to start scraping yours.
right. You can't hide
you,
for long.
you can't hide. Yeah, you can't hide. So if you're not improving, those people that are trying to compete with you will take what they're finding out on your page, just like you did when you found your product.
So John, you always like to talk about what's next. A big part of your presentation is kind of being on the cutting edge. So
Yeah.
what's next? Like what's something we should be keeping an eye out for?
You know what? What's right? Here's the problem. I've told everybody I've put up a wall right now. What's next is fourth quarter. That's as far as I'm ready to even go for right now. All right. And the reason why is because there's so many weird headwinds that are out there right now, and they haven't shaken out. It's like we're in this, we got this weird duplex kind of vision of the world. It's almost, remember back in the day we used to have those
Yep.
glasses, and one was blue and one was
Yep.
red,
Yep.
and then you would see 3D. That's kind of where we are right now. I didn't even get that. I blue and red. Wow. Okay, but here's what's happening is that
You always got to get political.
Right. No, this is not political though. This is about we know we're in a pandemic worldwide. So go up to the 60,000 foot level and look at it. It's not just America. It's worldwide.
Right. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the economy of the world we have to wait for that to shake out. And we don't know how it's going to look when it's all said and done. Right. So for now, keep doing what you do. Recognize that fourth quarter is going to be a little flaky. It's probably going to be accelerated, but it also might be very weird categories.
Right.
Because we're in the pandemic. We're going to be post-election. I don't think it doesn't matter who wins the election. I really believe politically there's going to be uprising no matter who wins.
Yeah, there's going to be a fallout one way or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's going to play into fourth quarter. Plus, if they don't get this thing right with the money, people are going to have, start pulling back on what they spend on. So it's just so weird for me to do the.
And right now we're doing trend buying. Right. So like right now we're recording this. It's the end of August.
Okay.
You can't find a desk. IKEA is sold out of desks because everybody's home for virtual school. Right. 3 weeks from now, you won't be able to find an outdoor heater. Right. So it's like trend buying is happening right now, which is just kind of messing up all of our history of what we've known.
Yes.
And the number of people looking for outdoor heaters this fall is going to be exponentially greater than have ever looked for outdoor heaters before.
Yes.
Just like trampolines and water slides and pools
went crazy
back in March and April.
So one thing that I will say,
all the arbitrageurs just went out and bought every heater.
They went out and bought it. They're all over there, right? Every heater's gone now. So the one thing I will say is diversify your marketplaces, because what we are seeing is 174%. Is that what you said?
Yep.
174%,
175% GMV growth.
Right. Walmart doubled its e-commerce traffic.
Yep.
Target more than doubled its e-commerce traffic. So while you got time, go ahead and diversify and put your products on multiple platforms.
John Lawson with johnlawson.com. Thanks for sharing with everybody today. You can reach out to him. He's on almost every social media channel. He's got to do what he preaches. So reach out to him if you got any questions or comments, or leave your comments below on what you think about.
Hey, one plug. Can I do a plug?
Sure, go for it.
Go to Facebook and type in Watching Amazon. We do a show every week and we watch Amazon.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun. You used to do it in a fun little way where you'd sit at a diner with a camera and drink coffee and talk about Amazon. But now it's all virtual. But it's a great little way to kind of keep up on kind of odds and end things that are happening within not just the Amazon seller community, but the greater Amazon community.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Thanks, everybody.